Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. A lot of you are finishing school today. Congratulations. That means it's officially summer, even though it may not feel like it yet. Hopefully it will soon. Now, today we are going to be focusing on a Bible story that fits into our theme, which is love your neighbor. And our memory verse, I hope you're ready to practice it. Let's do it. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Galatians 5:14. Let's do it one more time. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. Galatians 5:14. Great job. Now, on Tuesday, we talked about the Good Samaritan, which is one of the stories you hear often when you're talking about love your neighbor, because it literally says it in the story. And what better example of loving your neighbor than loving a total stranger? Who would have thought that that would have been your neighbor? But it is. And today, we're going to talk about a time when Jesus loved you guys, children, like his neighbor, when others did not want to. So if you have your Bible, please join me in reading it. I am reading from the Jesus Storybook Bible, but you can read from your Bible. And this story is found in Matthew 18 or 19. It's also found in Mark and Luke, but we'll stay in Matthew. So, you might have guessed, this is the story of Jesus and the little children. And it's a popular story because the fact that someone so powerful and so wise chose to spend time with children means that children obviously have something big to give to the world. And even though they don't know everything, who does know everything? Children are wise beyond their years because they see the world in a different way than adults do. So, I hope you will join me in reading the story of Jesus and the little children. Friend of little children. Jesus' friends were arguing. Who was the most important helper in God's kingdom? They wanted to know. I am, James said. No, you're not, said Peter. I am. Nonsense, Matthew said. I'm the cleverest. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Yes, no, am too. I bet this sounds like some of you right now at home. This silliness went on and on like that for some time. You see, Jesus' friends had started thinking they had to do something to make themselves special to Jesus. That if they were the cleverest or the nicest or something, Jesus would like them best. But they had forgotten something God had been teaching his people all through the years, that no matter how clever you are, or how good you are, or how rich you are, or how nice you are, or how important you are, none of it makes any difference. Because God's love is a gift, and as anyone will tell you, the whole thing about a gift is, it's free. All you have to do is reach out your hands and take it. So while Jesus' friends were arguing, some people who knew all about getting gifts, in fact, you might say they were gift experts, had come to see Jesus. Who were they? They were little children. Jesus' helpers tried to send them away. Jesus doesn't have time for you, they said. He's too tired. But they were wrong. Jesus always had time for children. Don't ever send them away, Jesus said. Bring the little ones to me. Now, if you had been there, what do you think? Would you have had to line up quietly to see Jesus? Do you think Jesus would have asked you how good you'd been before he'd give you a hug? Would you have had to be on your best behavior and get dressed up and not speak until spoken to? Or would you have done just what these children did? Run straight up to Jesus and let him pick you up in his arms and swing you and kiss you and hug you and then sit you on his lap and listen to your stories and your chats? You see, children loved Jesus, and they knew they didn't need to do anything special for Jesus to love them. All they needed to do was to run into his arms. And so that's just what they did. Well, after all the laughing and games, Jesus turned to his helpers and said, "No matter how big you grow, never grow up so much that you lose your child's heart, full of trust in God. Be like these children. They are the most important in my kingdom." The end. Now, for several reasons, I love that story, mostly because it has to do with children. And not often do you hear about the importance of children in God's kingdom. But other than that, I love the fact that talking about loving your neighbor, children, our children, or the children in our neighborhood, or the children in our community, our city, our state, they are our neighbors too. And right now, a lot of them are in less than ideal situations, whether that's because their families aren't very nice to each other, or because they don't have enough food to eat, or clothes to put on their bodies, or a house to live in, or maybe not a good house to live in. And they are our neighbors too. Remember, yesterday I talked about our differences bringing us closer together and seeing people beyond the outside of what they look like, of how they act. And that is what Jesus was asking his disciples to do. He said, you see these children and don't understand their heart. All you're seeing is that they're running and playing and not sitting still and acting reverent. But they are doing everything they need to be doing to learn more about God, to be closer to him, to be closer to me. They're doing exactly what they need to be doing. And you should be more like them, asking questions, being excited about our relationship with God, being excited about everything, curious and full of love and joy. That is what children are. So, remember that loving your neighbor doesn't just mean loving the people that are exactly like you. It means loving people, loving children, loving older people, loving everyone that we have the opportunity to. And so I want you to try and find opportunities to love your neighbor. Whether that is the people that live right next door to you, or if it's someone that you know from church or from school that you haven't talked to in a while, and you can send them a card or see if you can connect electronically with them. Because people right now, they need that connection. They need to know that they are loved, that they are cared for, just like we do. Never forget that you are a treasure in God's kingdom, and that story should be a great reminder of it. So take time as a family or on your own to really focus on what it means to have a childlike heart for God. And read that story. Keep it in your heart. I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the day. I will see you tomorrow.